Mortal Kombat 1 just got started, and while the game may not be everyone's cup of tea in regards to invasions mode and the crazy microtransactions, we do have a lot to look forward to regarding more fighters being introduced to the game. This goes well beyond what we have in the Combat Pack 1, with Omni-Man being released sometime very soon in November, and the rest of the Combat Pack roster launching up until July 2024. Things start to get real interesting after next July, because thanks to the data mining that has been done for Mortal Kombat 1, there will be 9 additional fighters making their way into the game, with 3 of these fighters coming from a massive story expansion DLC that will be released later. We will be looking at the data mined files containing audio transcripts that sheds light on these upcoming fighters, so big spoilers ahead if you are not wanting to get potentially spoiled. NetherRealm Studios has not confirmed whether the following 9 fighters will be playable in the game, but there is considerable evidence that we will at least see the majority of these fighters featured in Mortal Kombat 1 after the Combat Pack 1 fully releases. So, without further ado, let's get into the leaks. Big shout out to Twitter users The Thinny and Interloco for their work at data mining Mortal Kombat 1, and go ahead and follow them on social media to stay in the loop regarding these data mine breakthroughs. From these files, we found out right when the game came out that NetherRealm Studios is developing a story expansion to Mortal Kombat 1 that will be available as DLC after the Combat Pack is fully released. Here on your screen is some dialogue captured from within the game's files, hinting at a variety of fighters we will come across during the story expansion. As we look at some of the dialogue here, just note that these characters for the story expansion are not explicitly listed. Rather, they are implied from the other character's perspective from these dialogue lines found in the files. For this story expansion, we have 3 characters that will debut: Cyrax, Sector, and Noob Saibot. First, Noob Saibot. Bihan, traditionally Noob Saibot in the previous timelines, is said to fulfill his role again as Noob Saibot in this new timeline here in Mortal Kombat 1. We can surmise from the game's files that he turns into his Wraith form of Noob Saibot in the story expansion, with these lines from Nitara making it quite obvious. "Who are you to judge us, Wraith?" And "You were the one they called Bihan?" Even Omni-Man has dialogue of his own when fighting against Noob Saibot with these following lines: "I'd kill you, but someone beat me to it," and "Not about to lose a fight to a dead man." Another big revelation about Noob Saibot making his way into Mortal Kombat 1 is from these files pertaining to Homelander's dialogue with Noob Saibot. "Why can't you shut up? Black Noir doesn't talk," and "You look like a ripoff of this guy in the 7. Here on your screen is Black Noir from the 7, proving a startling similarity between the 2 characters, wouldn't you say? The second playable fighter to grace the story expansion is none other than Sector, the red cyborg ninja of the Lin Kuei. The lines from the story expansion data mine indicate that it is likely Sector who serves as the headmaster of the Lin Kuei, as Bihan, as discussed previously, becomes Noob Saibot early on in the expansion. These lines from Sub-Zero indicate Sector's allegiance to the Lin Kuei when in a match. "You follow Kuai Liang to an early grave," and "Will you betray my brother as you did me?" Sector's cyborg form is further emphasized with Kung Lao's "Even with that armor, you're losing this fight." Now, we can't have one cyborg ninja without the other, so Sector will be joined by Cyrax in the story expansion, and while Sector is mostly in line with how we've come to know the character over the decades, it sounds like Cyrax here is getting a pretty drastic makeover. According to the game's files, Twitter user The Thinny suggests that Cyrax is likely to be a female cyborg this time around. Fights with Johnny Cage indicate Cyrax's color scheme and history in the Lin Kuei with the following: "Let me, and I'll be ketchup to your mustard," and "A little birdie told me you've got a past with Kuai Liang." Where things get interesting is when this character, likely Cyrax, is told stuff like this: "Peacemakers, come on babe, why fight when we can and Homelanders, I've got no problem with badass women." If Cyrax truly is represented as a female cyborg, this would be the biggest deviation of any of the characters that are likely to be officially revealed for the next batch of roster fighters. Now, that's it for the story characters found in the upcoming story expansion DLC, and it looks like at least the beginning portion of this DLC is highly concentrated around the Lin Kuei, namely Sub-Zero and his lust for power, likely getting him killed and becoming a wraith in the form of Noob Saibot. The DLC also very much introduces the cyborg ninjas Sector and Cyrax into the Mortal Kombat 1 timeline, along with tons of different iterations of classic characters from other timelines found within the story DLC dialogue datamine. Again, the link to the dialogue concerning the story DLC and the individual fight dialogue is linked in the description for your own convenience. Next up, we gotta talk about the next combat pack, because we again will have 3 Mortal Kombat characters and 3 guest fighters rounding up the second combat pack. The first guest character we are likely to see is none other than Ghostface, a character Ed Boon teased not too long ago on his Twitter account. Here are some dialogue exchanges that highlight Ghostface's presence in Mortal Kombat 1. Omni-Mans, don't get much oxygen in that mask, do you? And takes more than a mask and a knife to scare me. Definitely paint a good picture that this could be Ghostface we're dealing with. Peacemakers, this cloak and dagger act is bullshit, is also a pretty solid giveaway. Next, we have T-1000 from the second Terminator film. We recently covered this in my previous video regarding Dan Allen Gaming's interview with the voice actor of Reptile, Andrew Morgado, revealing that actor Robert Patrick was recording T-1000's dialogue during the production of Mortal Kombat 11. These lines indicate that T-1000 could likely make his way into Mortal Kombat 1. Johnny Cage's "You a killer robot or a power mad tech bro?" and Omni-Man's "Threaten my family, I'll shred you to tinsel" certainly stand out. The third and final guest character for the Combat Pack 2 is said to be Conan the Barbarian. Peacemaker's lines create an image of this character wielding a broadsword and being completely jacked, which are definitely in line with Conan's appearance. Here are some of the dialogue exchanges with Peacemaker. "Let's trade. I'd look badass holding a broadsword." And, "Okay, clearly I'm not working out enough." Johnny Cage chimes in with, "'Cause I could pump iron 24/7 and never be ripped like that." Definitely sounds like a description fit for Conan the Barbarian if you ask me. And finally, the last 3 Mortal Kombat characters. These are actually provided explicitly within the game's files shown here, as Jade, Cassie Cage, and Kung Jin are all confirmed to have their own dialogue. None of their dialogue has any presence within the story expansion DLC, so these characters are likely to be relegated as additional fighters to the main roster without any story tie-ins, like Takeda is from the Combat Pack 1, for example. In addition to these 6 fighters, likely to round out the second Combat Pack, we have 5 cameo fighters that will also debut, with Li Mei, Liu Kang, and Quan Chi presenting themselves as not only main roster fighters, but also being given a cameo variant. The last 2 cameo fighters are classic boss characters from the franchise, Shinnok and Kintaro. I don't know about you, but seeing Kintaro here is just freaking amazing, although him being a main roster addition would have been so much more awesome. And there you have it. The data mines conducted so far reveal not only a massive story expansion containing 3 fighters, but a second combat pack consisting of 6 fighters each, along with the 5 cameos. When added to Mortal Kombat 1's main roster of 29 characters with the first combat pack included in there, we get a result of 38 main roster fighters along with 25 cameo fighters. Like I said at the start of the video, there's no denying that the scummy microtransactions and lackluster invasions updates are less than desirable, but the core of Mortal Kombat 1 lies in its fighting, and these characters will continue to breathe new life into the game well into the future. I know I'm excited for these datamine fighters, but what about you? Let me know your thoughts about these fighters and the data mines in the comments below, and make sure to watch this video on the various other modes being added to Mortal Kombat 1 that we learned about from the data mine. Thank you all for the awesome support, and I will see you real soon in the next one.